All right. Hey, everyone. It's me, Tatiana from BLISSforSingles.com. It's been a while, but I'm here with a special interview. We're going international. We're checking in the wonderful Eastern Hemisphere in the side of the world. I'm checking in with an amazing author and influencer in the single Christian space. It's with an author with his brand new book that I can't wait to talk about because it's definitely in line with what we're talking about on Bliss for Singles and talking about purpose, talking about how singles can thrive in COVID and how we can really manage hanging on to God and trusting Him, even when we've been single for a long time. If you haven't joined us before, I'm the editor-in-chief for BLISSforSingles.com. It's a blog to inspire Christian singles to embrace their relationship with Christ so that they can have healthier relationships later on down the road, whenever it is God's will for them to get married and hopefully have healthy, thriving marriages. So in order for us to get to that place, we have to be thriving singles in our relationship with God. So we're going to talk about that a little more with this amazing author. So I'm going to introduce you guys to David Bruehlmann, who will tell us more about himself, what he's doing in Cambodia, and about his brand new book. Take it away, David.
Hey, everyone. Thank you, Tatiana, for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here. So yeah, I just published this new book called Single for a Season, and I wrote it because too many singles are desperate to find their soulmate. And I want to help singles thrive right now in this single season, because sometimes it takes a while to find your soulmate. Sometimes it's very quick. But what I found is God has a plan for you, and this is the reason I wrote this book. So I'm David Bruehlmann. I'm originally from Switzerland. I'm quite international. I lived in the States for a while, in Canada, and now for 1.5 years, actually even more now, a few months more in Cambodia, where I'm serving in an NGO and in a church here in Siem Reap, Cambodia.
That's awesome. Thank you, David, for sharing what you're doing and about your new book. So I have a few questions for you, and it should be a good time. I definitely love to hear what you had to say, because the sample that you sent me was like, oh, this story, I can relate to the of like the could be, like this could be the one, and then it doesn't fall through the way you want it to. And those frustrations, you're like, Lord, why wasn't it with this person, you know? So that was a good attention getter for sure. I wanted to ask you, I saw the cover of the book. It's a great design. I am a nerd for fonts and book covers, especially as an author myself. So when I see good quality covers and fonts, I get excited. On this cover of this book, you have the silhouette or the portrait of a woman. So I was wondering with this question is there a difference in what may be hindering men and women when it comes to finding a quality partner?
That's a very difficult question. I'm really not quite sure whether there's a huge difference when we talk about obstacles. When I was serving as a community pastor back in Switzerland, I had a lot of conversations with single people in the 30s and 40s. And I found that most of the themes were quite common. I didn't see a lot of differences. Where I do see a difference is in the motivations to find a soulmate. I think there definitely I do see unique patterns, whether I'm talking to a man or to a woman. For instance, I've even read, and I'm a scientist, so I love also to have data. And as I was writing the book, I found a research done by a German organization. Actually, it's the German branch of YMCA, and they interviewed I think it's more than 3,000 singles in Germany. And one of the questions was actually, what are the struggles of singles? And what came out, one obviously is loneliness. So we can relate to that also now in COVID. I think this is a big topic.
Yes.
And what they found is that men suffer more from loneliness than women. So
Mhm.
this is one example that I think the obstacles, or no, not the obstacles, like the motivations to find a soulmate, I think they're different. And the other thing also I see is women are more deadline based. There's
Mhm.
this famous biological clock ticking. I think
Yeah.
this is definitely a big challenge for women, whereas for guys it's more relaxed. And I think there are other things. It's probably more the loneliness, or just to have someone in your life.
Mhm.
There are definitely differences, yes.
Wow, interesting. So sometimes, yeah, with both of those reasons why those motivations, they can, in my opinion, I think they can become obstacles or hindrances if someone overthinks it too much. Like if you obsess over the timeline, like, oh, I have to get married by 30, or otherwise, or I'm the last person in my friend group, or my family keeps asking me when I'm going to have kids, but I want to be married first and I don't see any prospects. These are some hindrances that people can get harped on, and they can focus on it so much
Mhm.
that they don't see where God may be leading them in their single season. Same thing with the men too. I mean, I'm not a guy, but like for guys, and for the guys that I've talked to, when it came to that loneliness piece, yeah, it's just finding the right person. And men don't want to settle either. Like you just don't want a pretty face, like to just fill your time up. You want someone to do life with. And I think that's where men and women can find common ground. As much as they want to put out this gender war with men against women, feminists and non-feminists, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of that commentary and comments going around, but at the end of the day, we do need each other. We were made for relationships.
Yes.
It's needed to be that way, and we just have to clear out the confusion and the lies of the enemy and get down to what we truly want and be honest with God and ourselves and with the people that He puts in our lives. Yeah.
Mhm.
When it comes to contentment and thriving in the single season, which I think is a big theme in your book, if I'm not mistaken, why should contentment be something that singles should aspire to in their single season?
Well, contentment lays the foundation, I'd say, for singleness and also for marriage. And I recently came across a quote which said, singleness done right is, I think it's the foundation of a healthy marriage. And I think this is so
Mm,
straight to really, this is straight to the point, because
yeah.
what I found in my life, for a time, I was quite desperate. And I just wanted to have someone special in my life,
Mm-hmm.
because I felt there is a hole in me. I wanted just to fill that void.
Yeah.
But what I realized, actually, that's not going to work, because no one can really fill that void. And I cannot have these expectations. It's not gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I did, and I also noticed that speaking with other people, we tend to want to date from a position of lack, which I think is not a good way to date, because sooner or later you're going to be disappointed, because your partner will never going to be able to meet your expectations and give you what you need. So that's why
Mm-hmm.
contentment is so important, because if you learn to be content as a single,
Mm-hmm.
while still having challenges, while still at times feeling lonely, or still having the desire to find one. And I think it's a good desire to find a soulmate. I think it's a God-given desire, but it should not take the entire space. It's not our purpose in life to find someone. We have already a purpose now as a single. So content, if we learn to be content right now, we are also going to be content once we're going to be married. And here is the amazing thing, because when we are content, or if we're content, then we are complete. So we need to
Mm-hmm.
find completeness in God. And this changes now the position, and we're not dating from a position of lack anymore, but from a position of abundance. And we can actually pour into
Right.
into our spouse's life. And I think this is a totally different dynamic, actually.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that concept of, yeah, a lot of people, you listen, a lot of people, like even myself, I definitely could testify about, different times in my life where I was like dating out of lack or being in a relationship out of lack because of fear, like a lack of options, lack of confidence in self. So I just stuck around for just anything, lack of resources can make you settle for less than what you deserve, or just take anything because, oh, maybe the person has the resources that you need, or there's one who noticed you in a while, so you just go for it. You're lacking affection, you're lacking attention. So singles, beware of and do that self-assessment. Like, am I feeling like I'm lacking anything? Like, what's really driving my desire to not be single? Like, what's driving desire to want to be in a relationship, want to be married? Because it's a serious commitment. Like Jesus told us to count the cost before we even follow him. So just imagine what costs and sacrifices that we sincerely need to make when it comes to that, probably that second most important decision in our lives, which is to choose a partner. I mean, God gives the freedom of choice, but he also gives us wisdom and a lot of direction too if we let him, instead of our lack and our emotions leading us. So I like to preach that a lot on the blog.
I like your thought, or your word. You said it really well. Assessment, and I think this is an important thing. Also, I need to do regularly, because I find that sometimes my motivations are not right, and then by doing an assessment, I realize, oh, wait a minute, David. I think you should change your focus, or you should put that in order first, and then move forward. I think this is very important.
Absolutely. So with this, with focus and shifting singles and how they can get back to contentment, one of the things that you mentioned in parts of your book was about purpose. And even though some singles may be like, well, I'm operating my purpose, I feel like I'm doing the thing, they still may feel some unfulfillment there, some relational loneliness. Did you have any like practical tips or even spiritual advice for that, where they feel like they're doing what God is telling them to do, but they still feel like this overwhelming feeling of, I still feel like something's missing?
What I have found very useful in my life, and also when I'm talking with my friends, is being honest, and being honest to God. And I think it's okay to feel weird, or to feel, I don't know, I also have this. Sometimes I feel like, well, wait a minute, I actually want to be fulfilled, but am I really fulfilled? And what is important is not just to fake it, just to say, God, here today, I'm not feeling it for whatever reason, please help me. I think that's the first key. Just pray about it and be honest. And then the other thing is, for me, is a perspective. I love the quote by Dale Carnegie, where he says that there are two guys in the prison, and one sees the prison bars and the other one sees the sky or the stars behind. And this is really good advice, because often as a single, we want to change our circumstances, aka we want to find our mate, or a soulmate, but actually it just doesn't work. And just to settle for less is not an option. But what we can do is to change our focus. And the Bible says, make God your utmost delight. And I think that's key. It's sometimes difficult, but it's a game changer.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think it's in Psalms somewhere, like delighting yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. I know that's the scripture that's often shared to singles as encouragement, as well as the put God first and all things will be added unto you. It's like, yeah, we got that. Take that hope in that truth. And honestly, it's like there's that times where you're really confident in that word, like, yeah, I am confident, God got me. my spouse is somewhere getting together,
Mhm.
get it right with the Lord, or, God's working on them too, and he's going to bring us together in the right time. And then you might hit a personal milestone in your life, like you're over 30. I'll be 35 this year. Some of my followers or fans, Bliss fam, we're in our 30s as well. Some of us are over 40. So it's like, yo, what about the singles who've been single for a long time? Like some of us are in that prolonged period, and it's like, what's going on? Are there still available men and women of God who would be suitable spouses for your people, Lord? David, how do singles over a certain age find hope in their single season?
But you're right, it's difficult. It's sometimes very, well, yeah, it's difficult. And I think what we should also not do is just find easy answers, because sometimes they're not easy answers. It's sometimes, and yeah, even as a Christian, it's like that. Not everything goes as planned. And it doesn't mean that God is not with you. No, God still has a plan, but sometimes his plan is different. And what I had to do in my life is actually I had to let go my desire of getting married. Well, I still have the desire, so I do want to get married. But over the course of 3 years, God led me to that point where I said, okay, I surrender. Whether I'm gonna marry or not, I'm okay. I'm really okay. I'm not just kind of okay, no. I'm really okay with it, but no, God, it's not my desire. I want to get married. And this let the pressure go. It was very difficult to do, but it was liberating. It was a very liberating thing to do.
Amen. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, especially like after you have this desire and you have that desire to feel that press from God, like, yeah, it's okay to let it go and really trust him. It's like it seemed like a big trust move, because it's like, well, you kind of gave this desire to me and I feel like you promised me this. So like it's like I don't want to give up my promise because I really, really want it, but I trust you. It's like when Abraham had to give away Isaac, right? And he had that to sacrifice him. He could have not done it, but he was still obedient to God. And it's like he was getting to the point to go take Isaac out. And God was like, whoa, 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 wait, wait, wait. Angel, he's really dedicated. Okay. So it's like, how dedicated are we as believers today in 2021 and beyond? How willing are we to sacrifice that Isaac, that desire, that thing that we've been praying for and waiting for so long? Because you remember, Abraham was waiting for years, decades to be a father, and him and Sarah were parents as old as they were beyond elderly. Sarah, what biological clock? I have no clock. Nothing's ticking, and she still had a baby because it was God's will. So it's like we kind of forget about that stuff because we watch so much news and we hear the statistics and we do hear the stories, the bad stories, and we don't hear enough good stories that kind of restore our faith that God can still do what he did for Abraham in our lives today. So it's like, thank you for sharing that, because it's a real feeling to have. And like, you do have to have that sacrificial moment between you and God. You don't have to tell everybody. You don't have to announce it on Instagram. You don't have to do all that. You just walk out the rest of your life in worship of God. That worship is your lifestyle for God, that you're choosing to live for God, no matter what that looks like. Like, yeah, this is not my desire, but it's God's will. If he wanted me to be married, he would have made it happen. If that's what he wants to do in a year now, 10 years from now, then so be it. But this is what he's got me on, so I got to do what I got to do. And I really want singles to shift their perspective from not making it seem like it's this arduous, hard struggle process. You can have fun in your single season. You can experience so much personal growth and you receive so much hindsight to the point where you look back like, I wasn't really ready for what I was praying for. And it takes some maturity and self-awareness to get to that point. Have you ever felt like that, David, where you was like, I'm glad I'm single, Lord? Because if I got married when I wanted to, I would have messed it up. Have you ever had those moments?
Well, yeah, I had several moments like this, and I looking back, I'm really thankful for my singleness because it allowed me to do a lot of things I would not have been able to do. I traveled a lot. I lived in different countries. Obviously, with a family with kids, you could do it, but it's always much more complicated. And one of the advantages I do see as being a single is the flexibility. I can decide tomorrow I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna live in another country. I don't have to plan the school and then save all. Well, obviously you have to save money, but it's not the same amount of money either. I could basically leave next week. Just tell my boss, hey boss, I'm leaving and I'm on my way. So that's a huge advantage when you're single. And yeah, I had to learn actually look at these advantages because too much I was focused on finding someone and I forgot a bit what I already had. And and yeah, I want to say this to you, to all your singles who are listening. It's an amazing gift that God gives you, the singleness. It's amazing. You have so much more time. You have freedom. You have time to invest in yourself, in your education, in serving whatever is on your heart. Or if you want to start a business, do it. Or if you want to go serve in your charity, local charity, do it. Whatever God has laid on your heart, do it. And yeah, make the most out of your single season. And it's amazing because God has a plan. God has a purpose for you right now.
Definitely. I love to travel, so I'm inspired by the work that you're doing. Like you get to live in different countries over your lifetime, and now you're working in Cambodia. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what you're doing there?
Yeah, it started with the dream I had a few years ago when I was on vacation here in Cambodia with my brother, and I saw the poverty in this country, and I was thinking, why are so many people poor in this country where because there is no reason for poverty because everything grows here. It's green, there are mangoes everywhere, there are jackfruits everywhere, like all kinds of, I've never seen that many different fruits in my life, and in Cambodia, it's just amazing. But many people are still poor. Obviously, there's a very bad history of the country because of the civil war, and then, well, it was very difficult. And then it hit me in as I was thinking, oh, I have to help these people learn English, because if they speak English, they can access to the information we have on YouTube, on Google, whatever. That's it. And then I went home, forgot about it, got busy with my life. And then 2 years later, I went on a mission trip to Cambodia. My pastor asked me, hey, David, would you be up to go to lead a mission team? And it's like, yeah, of course, I love it. And that's where we went to this church and NGO I'm serving now. And then I had this revelation moment. It's like, oh, that's it. We have to work together, because they had already the infrastructure. They trained local workers, that social workers. They go into the villages and work with people and do all kinds of different social and health work and spiritual work as well. It's like, oh, they know the needs. I have the idea. Let's start some kind of education program. We were not really sure what kind of program that would be. So it ended up being a scholarship program, which has grown over the years. So we have now almost 30 students in the program. We are paying them a good school. So we're sending them to a very good school here in the town. And we are working also with them in practical ways. They get to do an apprenticeship in the organization. We give them leadership training. And that's the organization I'm working at right now. And I'm leading the fundraising efforts, which is exciting too. So yeah, we're really making a big difference in people's life here in Cambodia.
That's awesome, David. And that's a great example or modern day example of, working in your purpose and just having that flexibility, that freedom, like you said, to be used by God in a big way. So you're changing people's lives and making a mark somewhere in another part of the world. So that's awesome. And God, the work that you and your organization are doing and what your church is doing out there. Awesome.
Mm, that's exciting. It's really exciting to do that.
So what inspired you then to create your book that just released? Was it this year that the book came out?
It came out this year. It came out in April, so it's very fresh.
Yes, your newborn. Congratulations.
Thank you. The idea came about 3 years ago. I was at the Hillsong conference in London, UK, and there was a pastor talking about having a bucket list. And I was a bit, a bucket list? No, I don't have one. And then I remember we all went home. I was there with some church friends. We went home to our room and started our bucket list. And I put one of the items on my bucket list, like, it was a bit a crazy idea because I was a very poor writer in school. I hated writing. I was not good. I had a lot of missed, F's in writing. And I was a bit, well, I want to write a book in my life. Then I came home, and I started to think, like, I have no idea what I could write about. I did not feel qualified. I did not feel inspired. Like, what can I share? I don't have anything to share, kind of thing, kind of negative talk going on. And I believe it was a Holy Spirit moment, this revelation came, and it hit me, and it was clear I had to write about singleness, because I realized that this is my story. I have a lot to share, and I have the credibility to talk about it. It's not just something I experienced 1 year, it's a very long time. And yeah, that's how it started. And I started writing, then I hit a wall, writer's block. I put it aside for several months. And then it was beginning of last year, I started again from scratch. And then in 3 months, I had my first, what you call ugly draft. Yeah, and that's, long story short, and the rest is history. Now I have my book, which is
And it's
amazing.
and it's out here. Congratulations. Yes, single first season, how to be single and happy, a guide for Christian singles. That's dope. And again, it's not geared towards just women, even though there's a lady on the cover, this is geared towards all Christian singles. Yeah. So what are the things that they can expect when they read your book, David?
Well, you find different parts. I'm going to help you heal your wounds of past relationships. Also find keys to not feeling lonely. And then very important to find your identity in God, and to find your number one in God. And then you're ready to find your number two. And obviously then is the question, what are you going to do with your singleness? And I think that was a real game changer for me. And a big part of my book, I'm going to write about finding your purpose as a single. What does this look like? How do you find your purpose? And just maximize your singleness. And finally, obviously, I also want to give you some tools and want to challenge you to make space for a future relationship, because I do see also now, especially in the 40s, some singles get comfortable. And if you still want to be in a relationship, you also have to make space. You have to maybe reduce a bit your freedom, and and say, okay, I'm available. I'm ready for a relationship. Yeah. And so in a nutshell, this book will help you thrive. You will find keys to real happiness and real fulfillment as a single.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I had to take a couple of notes. Like, yes, that's the key question here. What are you going to do with your singleness? Like the bucket list, have a singles bucket list. Last year, I had a hashtag single goals 2020, where I featured singles and what they were doing with their lives to help inspire other singles to get up and do something. Because you want to be a good steward over your time and your single season, because we don't have as much control as we think we do over our time. So be good stewards of it so we can like maximize what God is trying to do through us. And the make space for your future mate part, that was dope. Yeah, because we can get set in our ways. So yeah, we definitely need that reminder that yeah, as much as it is cool, sometimes you can get on one spectrum or one end of the spectrum or the other. Or it's like you're too independent or you're too needy. Like we gotta find that nice balance where you're just like, yo, I'm content, I'm thriving, I'm open, I'm ready. God says I'm ready. you know, that's cool. And I think that people who read your book are gonna get plenty of that insight, that inspiration, that challenge to do those things necessary to embrace their single season and make the most of it while they have their singleness. Because there'll be a day when we are married and we look back on our single days like, I didn't do enough time. I didn't do enough with the time that I had. And I don't want any of us to have that feeling. I mean, a lot of married people do have that. So you listen to their stories, learn from their mistakes, and apply those lessons so you don't have to have that same situation for yourself. Is there anything else that you wanted to share? Any other words of encouragement or advice for the singles? Anything related to like a surviving quarantine and coming out on this side of COVID and all that stuff?
Yeah, that's a very good topic. And unfortunately, loneliness is still a big one. And hopefully this COVID season will soon come to an end. We don't know. My advice is don't do singleness alone. I think it's very easy just to stay home, just to stay on your couch. And right now you don't even have to go out, or maybe wherever you live, the restaurants are still closed or for whatever reason. But don't get comfortable on your own. It's very important to plug yourself into a community. For instance, in my life right now, we don't have church services because we cannot meet, but it's not a reason to not meet people. And I do it often online, even though I'm not a virtual kind of person, but it does work somehow. It does work. And this is a miracle to me. But yeah, use technology, use whatever you feel comfortable with to meet other people and be part of a small group at your church, be part of a community, and share also your struggles with friends or with people of confidence. This is very, very, very important. And my other piece of advice is to never forget that there is hope, even if you think sometimes all hope is gone, all hope is lost. There is still hope. God is still in control, and God is still your matchmaker. God is still your way maker, still your miracle maker. And this is a truth, and this has helped me many times just to find hope again whenever I was discouraged.
Amen. That's awesome advice, David. Thank you for sharing that. We definitely need that because it's like you said, we're not really certain. I mean, it's opening a lot more here in the States, but the summer's coming, so guys, don't be hesitant to go back outside and do it safely. Make those connections online, and just remember you don't have to do it alone. I love that. So, how can we find your book, David? Where can we find your book? How can we best support you in what you're doing with it?
Yeah, you find your book, your book, no, my book. You find my book, Single for a Season, on Amazon. You can either get it in ebook formats on your Kindle. And by the way, you don't need the Kindle device to read it. You can read it on your phone. Yes. And I have also a paperback version on Amazon. Just grab it there. So you have everything. You find more information about my book on my website. It's singleforseason.com. Very easy to find. You can also find me on Instagram at Dave Bruehlmann. You will find a lot of information about my book and what I'm doing. And I would love to hear from you. If you can also feel free to reach out to me and to send me a DM, and I would really love to hear from you.
Awesome. I'll have to hit you up on tips because Switzerland is on one of my travel places on my list of places to visit. So it's good.
Oh yeah, definitely go there. It's a
Live there.
beautiful country. I'm biased. Obviously, I'm a bit biased, but no, it really is a beautiful country.
Nice. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time and sharing this this amazing book with us and the advice, your experiences. And yes, we definitely want to support what you're doing. So guys, be sure to check out David's book so you can be inspired to live this amazing post-corona single season with God's grace, with more purpose, with more contentment, and a desire to thrive unbothered by the clock, by loneliness, by parents, by society standards, whatever. You got this. So thank you again, David. And we'll be talking to you all next time on BLISSforSingles.com. Make sure you check us out for more inspiration for safe singles on our blog and here on YouTube. All right, have a good one.
Thank you.